So most organizations have dashboards that appear green, and users still complain that my laptop's slow, VPN's frustrating, apps are crashing, security prompts never end. Today, we'll explore why endpoint users experience breakdown even when compliance looks solid and what to do about it. So I'm joined today by Evan, Daniel, and Eric, uh, each experts in their field, and I'll let them introduce themselves. So, Evan, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, Evan Hale. I'm a technical solutions architect at Zones, focused in the digital workplace practice and specializing in Apple environments.
Fantastic. And Daniel?
Yeah, my name is Daniel Christek. I'm a client solution architect for Zones. So I specialize in the Microsoft practice, the Microsoft ecosystem, including the M365 tenant and Azure.
Brilliant. And Eric?
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. Eric Abel here. I am a channel sales engineer. I have been with Jamf for going on 9 years and been in this space for going on 15, I think, something of that nature. So really excited to be here with everybody today.
Fantastic. So absolute experts in everything they're doing. We're just going to jump right in because this topic is really, really interesting, and we have a lot of people that are really interested to hear all of your insights. So, in one sentence each, what is operational compliance? Not just a checkbox compliance. Evan, can you start us off?
Well, operational compliance is the process of ensuring an organization's day-to-day activities following their corporate policies and industry standards and whatever regulatory requirements they may face.
That's great. Thank you. Well, Daniel, what about for yourself?
Yeah, so I would look at compliance as the overall posture of the organization's compliance policies, but also it incorporates and interacts directly with end user experience and affecting them in their job roles and job functions.
That's great insight. Thank you. What about from yourself, Eric?
Sure. So operational compliance generally means that the device isn't just configured securely. It means that it behaves a way that an Apple user is going to expect it to in the real world. So they already kind of go into understanding or believing that it's going to be fast, seamless, unobtrusive. So security supports productivity instead of interrupting it.
That's great. Thank you. Really interesting insight. So let's review the 4 ways that UX breaks down. A device can show 100% compliant and still be unusable. Where's the blind spot in this? Evan, when you walk into a green dashboard environment that's red for users, what's usually broken?
The telemetry data is not being gathered on the end user device that's relevant to the actual experience of the end user.
Okay, and what factors do you wish security teams tracked alongside the compliance?
Usability would be a major one, functionality, response time of applications, things like that.
Great, thank you. And Daniel, what do you consider the essential experience that should accompany compliance and risk?
Within the Microsoft ecosystem, you have 2 different areas. So you have the Compliance Center, which helps you to develop your policies around compliancy. And then you have other areas such as insider risk management that help you enforce those policies based off of triggers and actionable items that users are doing.
Okay, where do teams go wrong when they translate security requirements into endpoint policies?
Well, you can do a lot of restriction that could potentially affect the end user's experience or even their workflows. So we have to put things like audit mode into enactment, right, before we actually deploy to the entire organization. That way we can look for potential impacts to our end user base.
Okay, great. And Eric, on Apple, what are the common culprits for compliant but painful?
Sure, I love this question. So the biggest culprits are usually things that are invisible to dashboards. Things like aggressive security controls, poorly tuned background processes, configuration conflicts that technically meet compliance requirements, but overall they degrade the performance or usability. So, compliance essentially, tells you the device is configured, but experience tells you whether or not it's actually working.
And how do you reduce security overhead without losing visibility?
Yeah, sure. So you normally start off with the key is tuning and visibility, not just enforcing controls blindly. So instead of security being a constant tax on performance, it really kind of becomes targeted and efficient. So one last point that I'd really like to stress is a lot of security solutions that are on the market have Apple really kind of just like as a checkbox, but they haven't really built their solutions with Mac in mind. So picking a solution that is optimized for Mac is really one of the very first steps. You should ask yourself, am I using the right tool? So you maintain security coverage, but you remove unnecessary friction.
That's great. So the takeaway is posture alone is a snapshot. You need health and friction analytics, plus a way to tune controls based on real impact. So when security becomes too hard, users tend to go around it. We've all seen that happen. Then that can look compliant but create new risks. So, Eric, where do you see users working around controls on Macs and iPhones, especially when they're under pressure to get work done?
Sure. So most workarounds happen when a user feels blocked, slowed down. That might look like moving work into a unmanaged personal device, using unsanctioned apps, avoiding approved tools because they're just harder to access. It's usually not malicious in nature, it's productivity driven. So people will always find a way to get to the fastest path to getting their work done. So shadow IT is sometimes it's a UX problem, not really a security intent problem.
Okay, so what's the best way to enable end users to do the right thing?
Right. So the most effective way is to give users a simple, trusted self-service experience. So we have something called Jamf Self-Service Plus. Users can install approved apps, run fixes, request IT admin privileges for a predetermined amount of time, access resources instantly without waiting on IT. This really removes friction. It eliminates a need for a user or the perceived need for a user to go outside of approved workflows. So when users can get things done in seconds, compliance really kind of becomes the easiest path forward, not the hardest. So the best security strategy is making the secure path the most convenient one.
That's great, thank you. And Daniel, how do you balance blocking risky behavior with keeping people productive so they don't flee to shadow IT?
Within the Microsoft environment and Microsoft Purview, you can do both of those. So you can set insider risk management policies based off of triggers, so that whenever a user is doing a repeat, task or sequence, you can identify those. And then you have other tools such as audit within the Compliance Center in Microsoft Purview, so that you can go back and you can audit and then tighten down security measures, or even incorporating the users, right? And letting them help you develop sensitive information types or sensitive information tagging. There's multiple different areas that incorporate the end user experience into your compliance configurations and settings within the Microsoft ecosystem.
Okay, so where should policy live then? Device, identity, or gap?
You can control it from all of those different perspective areas. So if you're going to control a device and you want compliancy on the device, you would do that through Microsoft Intune. If you're trying to target identity, we would look at things like Intra ID. Now, if we're trying to consider and control an app, we could do that in multiple places. We could do that in Defender for Cloud App, or we could target it through Intra ID in an additional area, maybe a cloud application security broker, all which are integrated directly into the Microsoft ecosystem.
Fantastic, thank you. So, Evan, what is Zone's strategy when a client wants stronger security but adoption is failing and users are struggling?
So, like Eric and Daniel had said, work with the organization to make the security path the least resistant by trying to reduce the friction, like implementing SSO everywhere, passwordless through biometrics, workflow integrations, pretty much exactly what Daniel just stated. And then rather than adding burden, it helps with the adoption of the overall security design and implementation.
Great, thank you. So, how do you convince the organization that experience improvements are a security control?
We frame the user experience as risk reduction versus versus a risk area. And so it starts to eliminate the shadow IT, the workaround, the reused passwords, things like that. All those pieces just keep adding to the problem where we try and improve the user experience overall to reduce the friction, which then creates less vulnerabilities.
Great. So, I guess, sort of in summary, we would say shadow IT is often a UX problem, and people just do what works when it comes to it.
Yes.
So let's jump into something different now. A compliant agent can block legitimate work, and false positives, misaligned settings can create outages. So, Daniel, how do you recommend IT teams identify and resolve compliance issues?
So within the Microsoft Purview and the Compliance Center, you can look at things like audit trails. You can do Activity Explorer. You can do Content Explorer. So you can do a lot of different investigation and remedial actions. There are other areas that you can tie into inside of risk management that may tie into e-discovery, right? And so e-discovery is a very valuable tool. It has been around for quite some time, and Microsoft has incorporated that into the Compliance Center, into Microsoft Purview, so that you can have two levels. You can actually do your normal e-discovery cases, like you're traditionally used to, or now you have with a P2 being able to do advanced e-discovery, which really assigns case holders, reviewers, auditors. This is the way that you would pretty much issue this to your legal team, so that they can create a well-developed case, and you can track everything from who has what access and who has seen the document, right, or even seen what is going. So chain of custody is extremely important. So those are some of the different areas where your teams can identify and resolve compliance issues.
Thank you. And Eric, how should teams think about tuning security controls so legacy apps don't get crushed?
Yeah, so the most important principle is really to stage your rollout and then get your feedback. So you don't want to deploy security controls globally on, day one. Instead, start with a pilot group, monitor impact, use telemetry to identify some false positives and potential workflow conflicts. So security controls should be precise. It's not a blunt instrument. It's not a sledgehammer. You have to be precise and surgical with how you're enacting these.
That's great. Thank you. So, Evan, where do teams overcorrect and create long-term fragility?
When IT teams in security overcorrect, it's usually when they have the mentality of control over usability. They force the workarounds, reusing or sharing of passwords, not strong enough credentials, regardless of the corporate standards. And all these workarounds start causing more issues and way more dangerous than not implementing them. So over restriction is really the biggest problem that we see most often.
That's great. So I guess, sort of summing that up, misconfiguration of settings is not a security failure. It's a change management failure because changes were applied across the organization. The correct approach is to stage the rollouts and including fast end user feedback.
Correct.
So jumping on to the next subject, even perfect technical compliance can fail if the user experience becomes exhausting. Evan, how do you measure security fatigue in a way leaders take seriously?
A lot of times it's easily seen in the service desk ticket volume or policy exception requests because it's been overdone, right? Those are two of the main areas.
Okay, and what are the two changes that immediately reduce friction?
We've said it several times in this, which is really the backbone. It's about single sign-on, passwordless slash biometrics, and allowing the frictionless logging in of devices, and that really helps a lot.
Great. So, Daniel, what's the most pragmatic way to reduce prompts and password pain while improving security?
Yeah, so starting with Windows Hello for Business, you can go to a PIN, right? And so that's stored on the TPM chip. That is a way to continue to go deeper into the actual endpoint, right? To set your security parameters. There's also biometric, like Evan had just talked about. So we could enforce PIN plus biometric. That makes it so much easier for an end user to sit down at their device and look at the camera and get logged in. And if for some reason their camera is not functioning right, then they can put in their PIN. That is locked down at the TPM chip. So that's actually more secure. Another way that you can do that is you can do it with, like a radius server, a cloud radius server where you can do certificate trust, right? So now we're forcing two-factor authentication at the login. So there are multiple ways that you can actually make it easier for the end user while improving your overall security posture.
That's great. And so where do organizations misunderstand the relationship between identity, access, and endpoint UX?
Yeah, sometimes it comes down to what is our policy? How often are we changing passwords, right? Because that could potentially be an issue, or even having multiple authentication requests, right? So if you're really trying to make the end user experience better, less is better, right? But we still have to be able to improve, right? Security versus usability. So we try to make it, as level as we can, right? Reduce the end user's interaction, but to enhance our security features with the technology that we have available. Like certificate trust is one great example because it really does nothing at the end user experience level, but it does add a very secure additional security measure to your authentication process.
That's great. So, Eric, Apple users expect low friction experiences. What does secure with minimal disruption look like in practice?
Yeah, it means that security happens mostly in the background. This should be invisible. The device should be encrypted automatically. Apps should, deploy automatically. Updates should happen automatically. Threat detection runs quietly, without interrupting a user. So when a user needs something, they can access it instantly through self-service instead of opening a ticket or waiting. So security supports productivity instead of interrupting it. So, the best security experience is one that is invisible. It should not really be noticed.
Great. So, how do you keep users in flow while still responding quickly to threats?
Yeah, so it normally comes down to visibility and automation. So we have Jamf Protect. Security teams get real-time threat detection and telemetry, and with Jamf Pro, they can take immediate action. So whether that's isolating a device, deploying fixes, adjusting policies, the response happens quickly and precisely without disrupting unaffected users. So you respond fast to threats without slowing down the broader workforce.
That's great. So, I guess to summarize that, IT has several options to implement security that is behind the scenes and uses SSO approach to make the end user experience more seamless. Both Apple and Windows use a secure chip to enable the SSO. So let's jump into the lightning round now. I'm going to ask each of you for some really quick answers. Just give me 10 to 15 seconds, the best you possibly can, because I know that you're all absolute experts on this stuff. So we'll try and keep this down. So I'm going to jump into you, Eric, first. What's one metric you would add next to compliance tomorrow?
Oh boy. So probably user experience metrics, thinking things like performance impact, app stability, time to productivity, anything that kind of gives me a idea of what's going on, like from a day-to-day for the average user.
Fantastic answer. Thank you. And Evan, coming to you. One policy you see overused or misused?
Admin rights removal without the ability of elevation.
Great answer. Thank you. Daniel, what's one quick win that improves UX and security at the same time?
I'm gonna have to go with Windows Hello for Business. Going to a passwordless authentication. It improves the end user experience. It helps them log on faster, and it incorporates single sign-on across different applications. So you're improving your security at the same time you're giving your end user experience a fast track.
Fantastic. Well done, all of you, for keeping it to that, keeping it within the lightning round. So thank you so much. Really insightful, and hopefully everyone has picked up an awful lot of information from this. So really appreciate all of your participation. I guess so. Overall, if your compliance dashboard is green but users are red, the path forward is operational compliance, secure, healthy, and low friction. If you want to help assessing with your biggest UX breaks and mapping a prioritized roadmap, we can follow up with you afterwards. So follow Zones, Microsoft, and Jamf for more sessions like this. We're hopefully going to be able to deliver more from that. Thank you all to everybody here. I appreciate your engagement, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody on the next one.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.